Round 1.
Salve omnes, and welcome back to the channel. I have another guide video for you, and this time I am covering the second hero released to us during Year 3, the heavy class samurai, Hitokiri. Wielding a unique take on an Ono axe, Hitokiri is an executioner through lore and is represented as such in the game very well. With armor, infinite chains, strong mix-ups, and even an attack so strong it can one-shot every hero in the game, Hitokiri managed to capture attention like no other hero before. This guide will assume that you know the basics of For Honor combat, and you're also familiar with the terminology, such as guard breaks, parrying, chains, and feints, etc., and is aimed at new and existing players to help learn a new character. Normally I start with chains, but the developers instead decided to treat Hitokiri's attack strings as a state called Mugen Ryu. Put simply, Mugen Ryu should be treated as in-chain, so moves that initiate Mugen Ryu are chain starters or openers, and moves that end Mugen Ryu are treated as chain finishers. There are also moves that maintain Mugen Ryu, these are to be treated as mid-chain attacks. Meikai is a light opener and begins the state known as Mugen Ryu. Mangetsu is a heavy opener and also begins Mugen Ryu. Endless Myriad is an infinite chain of heavy attacks that are performed during Mugen Ryu. You are able to remain in Mugen Ryu whilst performing these attacks. Meikai Rift is a light finisher that ends Mugen Ryu, or in other words, resets you back to neutral. Both light openers and light finishers of Hitokiri hit for 18 damage. Heavy openers and chain heavy attacks found during Endless Myriad all deal 30 damage. Mangetsu Rift is performed by pressing and holding heavy attack. Hitokiri will begin to charge an attack. Holding heavy attack to maximum charge will see the heavy become unblockable and deal an increased 40 damage. Mangetsu Rift can be performed as a chain starter or during Endless Myriad. Successful execution of this move will however end Mugen Ryu. The heavy variants of Mangetsu, Mangetsu Rift, and Endless Myriad can all be charged, feinted, and released at variable timings. Mangetsu Rift itself has slight variable feint timing, worth practicing to help deceive your opponent and bait a reaction. This added timing variant makes all of Hitokiri's heavy attacks very risky to attempt a parry against. During Mugen Ryu, press guard break to perform Ray Kick. The kick will allow you to remain in Mugen Ryu provided that you successfully hit your opponent. If you do hit your opponent with a Ray Kick, you can confirm a heavy attack for 30 damage from any direction. The kick can be feinted immediately or after a brief charge. If the kick is evaded, Hitokiri will be vulnerable to a guard break and other punishers. Pressing and holding guard break during Mugen Ryu will perform the Ray Sweep. This is another excellent tool for baiting reactions from your opponent, and like Mangetsu Rift, will end the Mugen Ryu state. You are able to confirm a light attack from an opponent who you connect the Ray Sweep with. However, the light attack will hit the opponent during Wake Up armor, making it unsafe. You can of course make it safe by using a Mugen Ryu follow-up, but at the risk of being countered, though this is useful for confirming an ally some damage during teamfights. When out of lock and sprinting towards your opponent, press heavy attack to perform a sprint attack. This attack will always hit your opponent's left guard for 30 damage. The attack cannot be feinted once started, and cannot be used to enter Mugen Ryu. Dodging forwards and pressing heavy attack performs Sankotsu. This attack always hits your opponent's top guard for 30 damage. The attack has decent range and primarily functions as a roll catching tool. The attack cannot be feinted once started and cannot be used to initiate Mugen Ryu. Of all the maneuvers Hitokiri has access to, this is the one that should be used with the most caution as it's very easily countered due to its well-telegraphed nature. Hitokiri's zone attack always hits your opponent's right guard, dealing 20 damage. Once again, the attack cannot be feinted once started and cannot be used to initiate Mugen Ryu. This attack does have decent forward momentum, giving it good range, but it is also well telegraphed. Heavy openers or Mangetsu have uninterruptible stance or hyper armor. This is represented by a white flash on Hitokiri. The armor on heavy openers starts up at 300 milliseconds. Mangetsu Rift or fully charged heavies also have uninterruptible stance. The armor also activates during a feint so long as the attack was charged long enough to become unblockable. Ray Sweep also has uninterruptible stance, granting a high success chance when trying to confirm damage for yourself or allies. Meikai Rift or Light Finishers also have uninterruptible stance, allowing for trades. As you have no doubt surmised by now, Hitokiri is built around trading and has plenty of tools to achieve this. Meikai Rift also has another property. The Light Finisher is actually enhanced, meaning that it won't be repelled on block and actually deals chip damage. Time for the Punishers. On a guard break, you get a heavy attack for 30 damage regardless of direction. Wall Splats give Hitokiri a heavy attack for 30 damage. Direction doesn't matter. Keep in mind, however, that Hitokiri gets this damage from guard breaks, so save yourself the stamina and don't throw unless it's for a knockdown or environmental hazard. Parrying a heavy attack gives you two options. You can confirm a light attack from any direction for 18 damage. From here, you can also continue into Mugen Ryu. Alternatively, you can confirm your zone attack for 20 damage. No Mugen Ryu follow-up, but a good option when outnumbered. Parrying a light attack will give you a heavy attack from any direction for 30 damage. When you are out of stamina and guard break your opponent, you can confirm a light attack for 18 damage regardless of direction. Wall Splats when out of stamina require perfect spacing in order to score a heavy attack for 30 damage. The attack must come from the side your guard is already in when you throw. Spacing with Hitokiri is very finicky, so this is not really worth attempting. Parrying a light attack when you are out of stamina will give you a light attack of your own for 18 damage. Direction does not matter. When throwing an out of stamina opponent, you must always make sure that you throw forwards. You perform 2 heavy attacks from any direction for a total of 60 damage. You will be in Mugen Ryu by this point, so feel free to mix up your opponent however you see fit. If you throw your opponent in any other direction besides forward, they will be able to recover in time after the first heavy attack. If you have access to your tier 4 feat Senbon Sakura when you throw your opponent, you can confirm it for 200 damage. You can confirm an execution with Senbon Sakura if you throw forwards and immediately throw out a light from the side your guard is in, followed by an immediate cancel into your tier 4 feat. Throwing forwards and immediately throwing out a light from the side your guard is already in, and follow up with an immediate fully charged heavy to net 58 damage and confirm an execution if it kills. If it does not kill, this punish is unsafe as it will hit your opponent during their wake up armor. Parrying an out of stamina opponent will give you 2 heavy attacks from any direction for 60 damage and leave you in the Mugen Ryu state. Once again, if you have access to your tier 4 feat Senbon Sakura, it is confirmed when parrying an out of stamina opponent. It's possible to confirm an execution with Senbon Sakura by way of an out of stamina parry, by immediately feinting a heavy from the side that you parried the attack from, and immediately cancelling that into your feat activation. You can also confirm an execution on an opponent with 40 HP or less during an out of stamina parry, by feinting a heavy from the side that you parried, and then immediately fully charging a heavy attack. On revenge activation, you get 2 heavy attacks from any direction for a total of 78 damage. If you have access to Senbon Sakura, you can confirm it on revenge activation for a total of 260 damage. Deliverance grants Hitokiri a 120 HP shield and uninterruptible stance when performing an execution. This means that Hitokiri cannot be interrupted by regular attacks from enemy heroes, minions or pikemen. Hitokiri can still be interrupted by feats, bashes and guard breaks. This feat gets more mileage during shorter executions, and whilst useful in all game modes, really shines in Breach, where executions are very important in preventing revives and diminishing tickets. Knowledgeable opponents can still interrupt you, but for the most part, you can execute opponents with impunity. Fast recovery doubles the speed in which your stamina regenerates, even when you are out of stamina. This is a solid feat. Not only do you reduce the risk of being out of stamina, and reduce the time spent when you are out of stamina, but you also get to play a little more aggressive with mix-ups. If you take this feat, then I recommend that you skip out on the Fresh Focus perk. Iron Lungs lets you sprint when out of stamina and recover stamina faster when sprinting. Basically, you can dodge roll attacks when sprinting and carry on sprinting if you run out of stamina. A very niche use, but other than that, basically useless, especially given the alternatives. Tainted Gift marks an opponent for 30 seconds. If during that time, the marked target is executed, the executioner and any allies within a 12-meter AoE radius are healed for 50 HP. This also stacks with the HP recovery gained from the execution itself, 90-second cooldown. Although somewhat situational and in reality hard to coordinate unless in a communicating team, this is quite useful for team recovery, especially if Hitokiri is the executioner, as this synergizes with Deliverance. Better in Breach, as you all won't have to fight over who gets to kill the captain on the ramparts. Bloodlust grants a 50% attack boost and a 50% damage reduction boost for 10 seconds after killing an enemy hero, 30-second cooldown. A very significant buff that helps in teamfights and anti-ganks, particularly useful for Hitokiri in a rare scenario where you can kill a hero and then use the Senbon Sakura feat on the commander or guardian in Breach for 300 damage. Righteous Deflection grants a 50% damage reduction buff for 5 seconds after a successful parry, 10-second cooldown. Very useful for stalling a point when outnumbered and can mitigate certain ganks that are set up by parries like Shaman's Bite, though this feat is only righteous when used by a Lawbringer. Spirit Shroud gives a 20% damage reduction buff that lasts until you are killed after successfully executing an opponent. This certainly sounds like a good feat on paper, but given that you're required to execute for this to be active, means it's situational. Also, this doesn't synergize well with defensive perks like Bastion, and as such, lacks utility and efficiency. Heal on Block regenerates 5 HP when blocking an attack. This feat is amazingly useful and Hitokiri's best choice for Tier 3. For helping out stalling unfavourable 1v1s, anytime you are outnumbered, healing from minions and pikemen, more longevity is always recommended when playing this game. Nukekubi recovers 9 stamina for every light attack landed and 15 stamina for every heavy attack landed. If this feat worked when attacks were blocked, it might be worth considering, but outside of clearing minions a little quicker, there's really no point in taking this. Senbon Sakura launches an attack that is unblockable and unparryable. It deals 200 damage when it hits an opponent, and if it kills, grants an execution. The attack takes 1700 milliseconds and has uninterruptible stance during its entirety. It can be interrupted by bashes and feats, and if it is interrupted, the feat is not used, 90-second cooldown. Though this feat has an obvious animation and is easy to dodge if you see it coming, this is basically a one-shot kill button with a ludicrously quick cooldown that's easy to confirm during teamfights and, as you've seen earlier in the video, during out of stamina and revenge punishers with no risk to friendly fire. The quick cooldown on this feat means it can be used multiple times during a match, and the quick cooldown is perfect for Breach for dealing massive amounts of damage to the commander. The damage of this feat is affected by modifiers such as Revenge and other feats like Morale Booster, further supplementing its utility. To summarise, if you're playing Hitokiri in 4v4 and don't take this feat, you're doing something wrong. Regenerate will restore your HP by 15 points every 2 seconds. It takes 3.5 seconds to activate, and will only activate if you are not in guard mode, that is to say, you aren't in lock. You are not sprinting or attacking or performing any other interaction such as using ladders, zip lines or levers. Why anyone would drop Senbon Sakura for this is beyond my comprehension, but this feat basically works if you stop playing the game. It's not even necessary if you are using heal on block. This feat is only actually useful for Conqueror, and that's only because all of Conqueror's tier 4 feats are bad. Skip. Fear itself causes Hitokiri to generate an 8-meter AoE radius that moves with Hitokiri. Any opponents within the radius will take 50% more damage. This feat lasts for 20 seconds and has a 3-minute cooldown. A good feat that synergizes well with damage buff feats, making it a good combo for coordinated assaults on breaking teams or against the commander. But taking this harms your team more than helps when you could have brought the 200 damage somersault. Aegis provides no meaningful benefit to Hitokiri, as good players will interrupt Deliverance rather than try to smash through it. Shields Up isn't bad as Hitokiri likes trading. Bastion is a good pick for Hitokiri, especially if you aren't taking Spirit Shroud, as more defense in zones and around the ram grants you more longevity. Vengeful Barrier is still as powerful as ever and a recommended pick for every hero with access to it. Last Stand requires critical health, meaning that if you're playing well, you're wasting a perk slot. Fresh Focus is a good solid perk that is always useful, but can be passed over if you're taking the fast recovery feat, and bulk up works surprisingly well for Hitokiri, as more HP means more trades. In conclusion, Hitokiri is quite possibly the most forgiving character for newcomers in any fighting game I've ever played. With really quick armor on heavy openers, Hitokiri can try and trade as soon as they see an indicator, which sounds like a good thing, but in reality will reinforce bad habits on players when they eventually play other heroes. In 4v4, you have access to a kill button that can be confirmed easily and has a laughably short cooldown. With the negative out of the way, Hitokiri is strong and outside of those particular hiccups, very well designed. Solid mix-up potential with variable heavies and a strong bash mix-up means Hitokiri can pile on the pressure effectively, with trades to ensure that Hitokiri might not be the first to swing, but always the last. If you found this guide helpful, leave it a like and consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Remember to tick the bell icon to receive notifications of new content, and please comment down below if I've missed anything out or you have any questions. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now.